Very good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this panel, which is also very exciting for me too. How many of you here are interested in Bitcoin? Is it a stupid question? All right. So, and how many of you really understand what halving is? Oh, not many, I guess. How many of you really understand what halving is? Okay, so there are more than that. And a fantastic panel here. Thank you, Sathvik, Jake, Preethi, for being on this panel. Yes, I've been through one halving. How many halvings have you been through? Two? Two? One? One. So, okay, we've been through one halving and we've seen certain things happen at that point in time. The question that I wanted to really ask is, and it's for the entire panel here, is why exactly do you think that halving was, or Bitcoin halving was absolutely necessary? Why was halving necessary at all? I'm talking about Satoshi Nakamoto saying there's going to halve and all that.
Okay. So Bitcoin stands out as a currency because of its deflationary ability. Most currencies inflate year after year across the world. There's no currency that releases less dollars or less rupees when the following year occurs. Bitcoin actually does release less Bitcoin. And so having a halving is important because now less Bitcoin are going to be released with each block reward. And that's very important because it shows the difference between an inflationary versus a deflationary currency. And Bitcoin being the first deflationary currency, that's what makes the halving so important.
I see. Okay. Sathvik, any comments from your side?
Yeah, I think, the way this halving is designed is in such a way that the major part of the coins, the portion of the coins, will be available in the initial stages, and then the smaller pieces keep on getting added in the later stages. So that on one side, like he says, it's about making it, deflationary. And on the other side, I think, they kind of have figured out how much Bitcoins you really want to exist over a period of time, and then obviously do the math backwards. This is where we are. Yeah.
Okay. Preethi?
In my head, it's all about incentives. And so in the early days of Bitcoin, no one knew what Bitcoin was. And so you needed a much larger incentive to get miners to want to participate in the network and mine. But over time, because of it gaining more mainstream appeal, there's a lot more miners that are naturally coming in. So it kind of, an analogy is like Uber. Like in the early days of Uber, they would pay drivers a lot to incentivize them to drive for Uber because no one wanted to drive for Uber and they had to pay them a lot. They would actually pay them full-time salaries to drive. But now their hourly rates are basically commoditized to taxi driver levels. Yeah. Same thing. So it's the same analogy. It happens in every kind of network where things commoditize over time.
And that's an excellent stuff. So, being able to reduce the incentives at a given point in time when we have more and more miners coming in, making deflationary in some form or the other. Why don't we speak about any other crypto in the same breath? Why only Bitcoin halving? When it comes, it becomes an event to watch out for. And we don't do the same thing for maybe an Ethereum or Litecoin or something else.
Because Bitcoin is the elephant in the room. Yeah. We call finance centralized, but Bitcoin is like the elephant in the room, and so everyone, it matters.
So okay. Jake, you have anything to say?
Yes, but at the same time, we say we don't look at other halvings, but we look at the prior history of Bitcoin halvings, but we also look at the prior history of Litecoin halvings. Litecoin just had a halving and pumped 300% in Satoshis against Bitcoin, leading right up to it, to all-time highs in the middle of a bear market. So we do technically look at other coins. There are other big players that have halvings, not kings per se like Bitcoin, but we do analyze other halvings and how they may impact future halvings for Bitcoin.
Awesome. Yeah.
I think it is definitely related to the pricing, right? So if you see, because the incentive for the miners is kind of reducing to half, then how will the miners start reacting? And will they be able to sustain? Will such kind of mining power continue to exist and such things? And if you see, Bitcoin is I think some 66% of the total value of the entire crypto industry. All the cryptos combined. So that makes it obviously so significant that it just stands out.
Yeah. Okay. So Bitcoin is king, and the elephant in the room. And it's okay. It's absolutely a no-brainer when it comes to Bitcoin as such, because that's where it all started, and I think it all makes sense to let it be the elephant in the room till the time. But then, talking about the being bullish about the entire halving part, because we've noted that there is a price rise or a spike when the halving happens, right? Now, are we bullish about the halving of Bitcoin is because it goes to make me richer by 300% or something, or are there any other reasons why people are so bullish about halving?
I think so. The first thing is it's some kind of news making event. That's the first thing, and it's happening third time. I mean, in the obviously Bitcoin being the oldest, so this is the third time in the history that is going through, and there is so much of things for people, and it could be central banks or everyone to learn how this kind of reducing the injection of currency will eventually have some kind of impact on the ecosystem,
Okay.
right? So the number of eyes which watch for that is too many.
Is it getting bigger? Are you saying, I mean, are the number of people watching a halving happen getting bigger and bigger?
Uh, I think more and more people who are interested in that, the event would obviously look bigger and bigger. But I think, see, it is again like dividends for an equity. If you know the dividends are coming, the moment the dividends are declared, there will be a price fluctuation in the equity, but it is not when dividends get distributed. And here we are talking about a sure shot event. So, to what extent does the price fluctuation happens at this time will be very interesting to see. If it was the first time and second time, the number of people who knew about this is like very, very insignificant.
Yeah.
Now I would say maybe more than 100 times more number of people knows about Bitcoin in 2020 than how many people knew maybe in 2016 when the last halving happened. So this, I think, kind of makes me think this may not be a big pricing movement exhibition this time.
But will it still make me richer? Yeah, you're saying something.
I do think the Bitcoin halving will have a positive effect on the overall price of Bitcoin, but it'll have the effect because more people will know about the halving. Interesting. But as far as having,
So his bearish and see what happens.
but if you fade positive sentiment, you've got to bet that it'll go down. I don't personally think it'll go down. I think it'll be positive, and for my holdings, I personally hope it is positive. But I think the one thing that'll make it positive is the audience. Countries like India, countries like China that had bans, whether it was banking or ICOs or trading altogether, are now opening up to this. So for the first time in history, we have billions of people who are going to learn about the halving, and they're going to learn about it basically overnight. And when that happens, it's going to be a flood of money into the market. So sure, a lot of investors are preparing for this, but they're preparing in a way where they're doing OTC deals to not impact the price. When the flood of retail money comes into the market, when they learn what the halving actually means, that's when we're going to see the price impact.
Awesome. So I'll come back to that point. Preethi, you had something to say on this? Okay, fair enough. So now going to the pricing here is you're saying there are more and more people going to come across, and people are going to pump a lot of money into it, all right? Do you estimate that probably this could be the beginning of Bitcoin price stabilizing henceforth, and we see a normal trend coming in place? Preethi?
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see price stabilization anytime soon. Because, I mean, think about it. Bitcoin's still just backed by faith. And as long as that remains the truth, like, it is a speculative asset. Like, no one can deny that. So until it becomes real hard money, and becomes like a circular economy, like I was saying in my talk, like, price is going to keep spiking because it's purely based on speculation at this point. But the other point I wanted to make was, what I find interesting is I've kind of purposely been staying away from crypto Twitter because I realized some of the hive mind that happens in there. And yesterday when I found out I was on this panel, I was like, let's see what's happening on crypto Twitter. And I noticed that a lot of maximalists use these events as a way to almost convince more people to get into Bitcoin. So they're creating a lot of interesting hype around like, oh, you better get in, like here's what the trend was last two halvings, and it's a way to market and hype Bitcoin. I think that's a powerful meme that they're using to drive more people into the space. So I find that interesting.
Cool. So we are crowdsourcing more believers is I think what you're doing, right? Yeah. You saying something? Okay, cool. Anything to say on this? No?
Just exactly same as what she says.
Okay,
That's my
so
view as well.
so as maybe Bitcoin maximalists or Bitcoin believers, we are trying to pump in more people coming in. Is what you're trying to say? Fantastic. So my question here is now let's look at this halving per se, all right? And you have the knowledge of the previous halvings also. Will it follow the same trend when it comes to the exchanges per se or anywhere else, or the OTC dealings?
See, I mean, in the previous two halvings, right? Even if you're talking about the prices as well, so the event is different from the effect that will happen because of the event. So when the event has happened, it was like maybe 10, 20, 30, or maybe 40% plus minus whatever it is. But if you see over a period of time, when that effect sinks in into the ecosystem, eventually that kinds of lead to a completely different. It could be positive or negative, and it could just be emotional when the actual event happens, but you will only figure out the effect of it over a period of time. Like for example, demonetization was one of the event, but how much effect did we see in the first 2 months or on the same day? The real estate prices did not drop on that day, right? It has dropped now, or maybe. You can see what I mean to say, right? So it eventually have its effect over a period of time. I think that is that's what we have seen with the Bitcoin halving as well, from my analysis of reading the graphs. But what I can say is, see, when the Bitcoin halving happens this time, and to the next time, do I see really significant price increase? If Bitcoin is successful, that's definitely true. But this event is not what will just drive it anyway, I think.
So okay, so is the event more an emotional thing right now, or is it of course it's a scientific thing because it's been laid out in the code,
Yeah.
all right, that after every 210,000 blocks there'll be a halving, but it has become more emotional right now, isn't it?
I take it back to Econ 101. It's fairly simple. Supply and demand determine price. So if we all of a sudden have this demand that comes being driven by India, China, other large countries that weren't taking part in crypto before, your demand jumps. Price is going to jump too. If now you have a halving that decreases the supply that's coming into the market, you have a parabolic increase in demand but no increase in supply. That drives price to an incredible level. So I don't think there'll be any stability in Bitcoin anytime soon. I do think it's going to be a hyper volatile asset, but I do think it'll move positively because history, but also because of supply and demand. Supply is being cut, demand is going to go through the roof.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think I completely agree with what he's saying, because Bitcoin is not like a perishable vegetable or anything like that. So because to say, okay, there is the supply and on the other side you have demand, and if you're talking about, okay, whatever was kind of available through supply in the last 1 month, it has to be consumed in the next 1 month, it will be different. But right now we have more than 90% of the entire Bitcoin mass of total of 21 million already released to the public. So now we are talking about decreasing the injection of the remaining 10%, right? So, and if you are talking about supply, now the supply we're talking about is of the 19 million Bitcoin that exists. It is not just about the decrease in the new thing that is coming in.
Absolutely.
Right, yeah. So that's how I see it, little different.
So yeah, of course, I think 90% is already out in the market. More than 80 million are already out in the market, and we only have 2 million or 3 million remaining, which is going to be distributed over the next 100 years, maybe. All right. But what I know is till about 2040, I believe that 99% would have already come out, and we'll have decimals being laid out and happening later on as such. Awesome. Now, so while we talk about halving, okay, something which is very important is the business or the network around halving, which is the miners per se, all right? Now, the miners have to maintain an infrastructure to let the network survive and network work, isn't it? Will this... Yeah, yeah. I was thinking why Siddharth is not here. All right, yeah, this is Siddharth and from WazirX. He was supposed to be in this panel itself.
I was talking to one crypto fan guys, like, just got him.
Yeah, okay, so we have another crypto fan here. So what I'm talking about here is, Siddharth, is I'm sure you must have understood this. My question here would be, how will the miners now find means to survive or sustain their business of doing this entire mining activity?
So there is a very important aspect, economic aspect of the whole crypto ecosystem. The most capital-intensive business is actually mining. A lot of people have put lots of. I don't even have the numbers there, but everything is very expensive when it comes to mining. Now think about it. If I put like say 200 or 300 million dollars, and it's not going to be profitable, right? That is a problem, right? Say tomorrow I start getting less bitcoins, that is a problem for me. So, and the other aspect of it, who controls the price movement, right? In general, we all know the guys who have more control over the circulation usually control the price movement, which in most cases is the miners. So when you think about it, from any economic point of view, it doesn't make sense that, it does make sense where for them to be profitable after investing so much money, the cost of whatever has to go up or not. Now the other question is whether it has already been adjusted in the past numbers that even we don't know. I mean, we don't know all the numbers, but this is like a very abstract, basic understanding of how miners work, how expensive it is, and will they continue to do that or not, or they just go out of business, right? And we know they are important in the ecosystem.
Yeah, okay. Preethi, you had something to say. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty, in my head at least, again, it's kind of simple. It's like if they're getting half as many block rewards, then there's only two other ways they can stay profitable. Either the price has to go up per coin, or we pay higher fees. Like, where else is that money going to come from? So one of those things are going to happen. Either the price goes up or the fees goes up, or it's a balance of both. Absolutely. And so it'll be interesting to see how fees goes up, because no one's really talking about that part as much as price, which I find interesting, because I do think the more likely outcome is fees go up.
I see. Okay, I think this is very interesting, Seaside. I think fees going up is going to be probably. So, do you think it's going to affect the Bitcoin economy in some way or the other? I mean, if fees suddenly goes higher than what is here today, and because we are worried about, I'm going to get richer because Bitcoin price is going to high. I'm going to be profitable because my mining is costing me $200,000, all right, and I'm going to get more. But we know he's talking about off transaction fees.
I think it makes really good sense, because even if you think about it from right from the beginning, this the whole Satoshi model, right? Like when we mine the last block, how else the miners are going to make money, right? That is only through fees. So essentially, you will see this correlation where the slowly the fees is going up, which at least keeps miners more profitable. So yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't really think the fees will really get affected because of halving. Because, see, let's say I am one of the miners and I'm running a mining machine, and I just have, let's say this is the next block that I'm mining is my block for whatever reasons. Then why would I just say, okay, I'll leave it empty or fill it half, when I still have the capacity to fill it completely and just take whatever the fees available.
But we're talking about the entire Bitcoin mining economy, all right, as such. Right. So if I have to invest a lot of money, which I have done in the past, to buy equipment, place them somewhere, find a place where I have less electricity, all right, and I have to derive my profitability out of transaction fees, it doesn't make any sense.
No, I mean, I think there will be some kind of say very marginally profitable miners who may have to shut down their miners for some time until maybe the network again stabilizes so that they can do the reassessment whether they can still be profitable and get them back. But I definitely expect the total mining power to go down when this halving happens, because there is a lot of unpredictability just at that particular moment. Just after that, there is again reassessment and getting it back.
Yeah, I
But the
think
only
in-
reason why I think the fees would ever go up, in my understanding, is too many number of transactions. It cannot be because of mining. I don't know.
The other interesting thing that could happen is, like you said, there'll be obviously a whole reorganization of the mining economy because all the people who can't stay profitable, only the most efficient miners basically will exist,
Yeah.
which could mean that it becomes even more centralized. So that's like another consequence of
And-
the halving.
And generally speaking, it is sort of like centralized. There are only like very few big miners. Like, it's not, the pools are like, it's just handful, right? And like he suggested, right? So even if they want to, fill the block in the next block, I would keep the mining power. The mining fee low. But that is only individuals who will do it, and they will usually not get the first block, right? The next block. But the price is controlled by the pool, right? The majority of the guys who control, like I said, there are probably 5 or 6 big pools, and if they decide to increase it to stay profitable, nobody else can do anything about it.
See, I noticed, I've been a miner, so I understand the fact that there are pools, and when I started mining, there were about 35 odd different pools, small and big, which had the entire, the pool structure, if you look at the pie chart. But right now, of course, there are 5 very large ones. But what we're going to happen here is, instead of the one machine that I have to mine right now, because it's going to halve, it may mean that I have to add 1.5 machines or 2 machines, which increases my cost of capital. All right, when I look at my increase of cost of capital, I may not only want to rely on the price. I may want to rely a little bit on the transaction fees too. All right, and I say, okay, hey, I would like to increase the transaction fee a little bit so that, hey, I remain a little bit profitable. And the smaller people who are mining may want to assimilate into a bigger pool, saying, hey, we can't manage it, so please here are the machines. And let me tell you, the machine costs are also increasing. The machine costs are increasing phenomenally. Yep. The latest S17s and T17s from Bitmain is huge. The Ant miners, they're $2,300 per machine right now, and they're giving phenomenal amount of THS, 56 THS, but the costs are huge. So imagine if I have to recover and I have to put 100 of them and wait for price to rise because of halving. That's going to be a big ask for me. Yeah.
I'm not sure if everybody understands how mining works. If you are an individual and you go online and try to mine, you're never going to be successful because the probability of you finding the next block is very low. So what individual people like me or anybody else in the room would do is they will always join a pool. Now, you join a pool, it does not mean that you actually find the block. One of the other guy would find a block and everybody divides among everybody else. So that is how pools are formed. So the deciding factor of the fee should be up or down, it's not on me. It's actually on the pool. So if the pool decides, we should increase the price for a fee, I mean, you can probably vote or, not be with them, but that is how it works, right?
Awesome. Preethi, is it an economy of scale when you talk about Bitcoin halving and Bitcoin mining? If we have more people joining mining, probably we'll have a price increase or we'll have a price decrease depending on how many people are there. Is it an economy of scale because of that? I mean,
What do you mean by economy of scale?
I'm saying, for example, I'm talking to volumes. If I have more
Yeah.
people joining mining, all right, will I be able to see a decrease or increase in price, or how does it get controlled that way?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't see how more people would be joining mining just because it's becoming more and more of a commodity business over time, and not many people can afford to enter those kinds of businesses. So I don't even see that scenario happening. But yeah, do you have a thought on that?
The only way I see a significant jump in the number of miners is if we see a significant jump in the price of Bitcoin. Yep. If the price of Bitcoin skyrockets or even doubles, then all of a sudden everyone and their brother is going to be trying to buy miners even at $2,000 a piece. Absolutely. Because they'll be profitable for a specific amount of time. unless the Bitcoin price improves, there's not going to be that jump in miners. And especially with the halving and the uncertainty, no one's going to be putting money into investments where they have no idea what's going to happen. It's a high risk, high reward scenario right now, and you're purely in speculation mode.
Absolutely. I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, see, the money that is put into these kinds of miners is like the security walls you have constructed around the Bitcoin ecosystem. The more and more that investments that exist, then the Bitcoin will become more and more secure. But if you see the correlation between the market cap of Bitcoin to how much money is being put into miners, I think the money that you have put into miners in a way of correlation is much significant already. So which means, let's say if I have to see in the 2017 as well, the mining maybe was like 1/10 of it, of what it is today, but the price was maybe already been into 3 times, right? So unless the price of Bitcoin continues to go high, it won't need more and more security around it, right? So, but if it goes high, then everyone starts understanding, yes, the more secure it is, it's profitable, for individual it is profitable as well, and people will start investing into the mining. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. Yeah. And Jake, you are a big proponent of proof of stake. We've been talking about mining, putting in mining machines. This is more to do with proof of work. All right. So do you think eventually we're going to see some movement from people who are saying, oh, hey, proof of work is in and out, and we don't want to do any more proof of work. Let's get a proof of stake and try our hand on anything else apart from Bitcoin?
I think it comes down to the individual's background.
Okay.
If you're okay putting up the money for miners and you understand how the coding and the dev and the maintenance works, you're going to stick to mining. If you have the capital to buy coins and you want to use it almost like a savings account or a checking account, just in the currency of your choice, you're going to do proof of stake. So each individual is going to have to make that decision for themselves. And if you're an investor, it's more likely you're going to be in proof of stake versus if you're someone who's in the development world, you'll be a miner.
Oh, okay. Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much. Yeah, I think I don't have many questions about Bitcoin halving because it's such a simple event in the life of Bitcoin that every 4 years there is a halving happening. Not even 4 years, 210,000 blocks, and a halving happens, and there is a price rise. Everybody expects that price rise to happen and make money out of it. And but of course, the idea then would be to ask the people here, the panelists here, is how does Bitcoin halving as such affect the community sitting here? I mean, how will it affect the community? Is it only price rise, or are we going to see something else coming out of this entire halving? I don't know. This is a question which came to my mind. I said I'll ask you guys.
No, I think, see, people who are on the verge that, yes, I want to get into Bitcoin sometime. So those people kind of, this is one of the events which can give them a push because of the media coverage that gets, number of people who get to know about this, and usually no matter how much you want to keep the price aside, it gets into it, right? So no matter what you do, and we have more and more education happening about how this kind of halving is a better phenomenon. I don't know what made Satoshi Nakamoto to think about this, but it's like a fantastic thing. He came up with a random number 21. I mean, I don't know why it was 21. When people ask why is it 21 million, I've read so many times that 42 is the answer for everything, right? If 42 is the answer for everything, and if let's say if Bitcoin is successful, it is half of every transaction or half of the whatever happens. It could be, say, whether you buy Litis or Lamb or a Lamborghini, you pay money on the other side, then you get the object from one side, right? So for the money which is half of the things, so out of 42, this should be 21.
Okay, that's interesting.
Is what I think, but
yeah.
so this particular concept-wise, it's just like has fit in, and I haven't really heard of any other even say game-related currencies or anything like that where this kind of mechanism was implemented and is successful. Yeah. It just became, I mean, how it is, I think it's a first-timer's luck.
Yeah, I see. So I think it was a trial and error, and it somehow is successful right now. right? And okay, my final question then, probably if you had time, we'll open it to the floor if required. And my question would be, as somebody who hodls Bitcoin or who holds Bitcoin, can I time my buying and selling based on halving?
I'm a terrible trader, so I can't say it.
So people who are there, can I time my buying and selling?
So I think unless you are prepared to wait up to at least half of the time till the next halving, which is at least 2 years, you could be at you could get locked up, right? So this is a good time. Don't wait for the heat to turn up about halving. At least we are 2 months away, and it hasn't really turned up yet. Even it's more about discussion phase. Whether it's already factored in, we don't know. Even if it is factored in, at least we know that the price is just not dropping at one shot. So maybe this is a good time, and may have that effect sink in for maybe like 1-2 years. And if you are planning to such an extent, it may be. Yeah.
Yeah.
It may be good.
If you're looking at trading Bitcoin, you should be looking at what time frame. Most people in the audience aren't trading Bitcoin on a daily basis. So if you're not trading it on a daily basis, the halvings normally have a benefit over a 2-year period.
Yeah.
Right now is a nice entry point. Look at it on a 2-year basis. If you make 100 or 200% over a 2-year basis, you're making more than any other market for the most part. So look at it at a 2-year time period and buy in as you can afford.
Yeah, Preethi, they are doing exactly what you saw on crypto Twitter. They are shilling Bitcoin here right now.
Yeah. It's the time to buy.
It's a time to buy, guys. So cool. So we all are here. We may not be I'm big Bitcoin maximalist. I believe this is the only thing that should stay. But of course, there are very good projects coming across. This is all I have from the panel. I would open to the floor. Any questions from the floor here on Bitcoin halving, or we'll probably close it as such. We'll close it. Okay. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being on the panel, Bitcoin halving. It was a short and sweet panel. Preethi, Jake, Sathvik, Siddharth, thank you very much, and much appreciate your time. Thank you.
I think here we need to talk about a disclaimer, because we did talk about pricing. So I think whatever we said here is of our opinion, not an
it's
advice.
a personal opinion of the panelists and does not show.
It's not an advice. Yeah.
It's not advice, not financial advice. Thank you very much. Yes, much appreciate.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Can I take a selfie?